The story of Adam and Eve is as much about betrayal as it is about sin. When Adam crouched behind Eve in the face of God, I bet her heart broke. And if this were a different God, he would have cast the first sin upon Adam, and the scriptures that washed through the centuries would have told us of Adam's cowardice and how it damned us all. But no, the story does not begin with Adam, though it does bend to his want. Like most things, this all begins and ends with the suffering of woman. When Eve saw Adam's pulsating flesh, the wound she was pulled from, she tended to it, apologized for the burden, discovered Adam's body before her own. This is how she would grow to know herself, unwinding before the will of men. When God called, she scrambled herself together, straightened her limbs, cracked her mouth into a smile. She was, after all, his child, a perfect thing, not yet doused in sin. When Adam beckoned her, she wiped the tired from her face, picked the gravel from beneath her nail before arriving at his bedside. Throughout the night, the garden would rupture, burrow itself further into the earth. The animals would find leaves coated in blood, of course, only hers. When they called to God, surrounded him in harmony to speak of Eve's agony billowing through the bush, he turned them away, told them they had never heard the sound of love before, a screeching symphony, and the animals, because they were also perfect things who too listened to God, turned away from Eve as she did herself. Before Adam would wake, Eve would peel herself from his side, clean the garden until it resembled porcelain. Then, as she had done so many times before, she would return to Adam, bury herself beneath him as the dawn settled. I want to believe that when the serpent slithered up to her, dangled temptation before her, it was not the forbidden she lusted for, but the ability to choose to create a universe using only her front teeth. And when God found his children, Eve, dizzied by her own godliness, and Adam, already a disappointment, hiding behind his wife's calf, twitching with glee, the fear of Eve struck God. So they were banished from the garden. And Eve, because this was all she had ever known, cried herself unrecognizable. And as penance, she stayed with Adam, with a man who did not understand how ravenous his own hands could be or did not care. So Eve never knew how to love a man, but learned how to endure one. When her own children were pulled from her, when Cain splintered out and Abel barreled through her, bringing with him the clots made up of her body, and no one, not God or Adam, came to her bedside, tended to her wound, Eve believed this to be atonement and died waiting for forgiveness. When I finally left the garden, I turned around only to find that it had been scorched earth. The animals were pulled flesh. Adam had long since passed. 2 stillborns lay with their faces pressed against dirt, and there I had been, nibbling on root, with no God in sight.